I've been working on a series the last couple of weeks about C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, as some of you already know. And the moral argument is very important to Lewis. He uses it very, very prominently, and he writes that it was really what he claims turned him from an atheist, as he says, into a Christian. So the moral argument very prominent in Mere Christianity. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I realized that, not only is the moral argument a bad argument for theism and against atheism, but it seems this claim that God is the source of morality, that there are objective moral standards, and that God is the creator of those moral standards, that God is what defines those moral standards. I think that's a worthless concept, whether you believe in God or not. And here's what I mean. By the way, joined on my lap by the kitty cat. My kitty cat's here. She loves hearing me talk about the moral argument. The concept of God coupled with morality is redundant at best. The best you can say about it is that it's a redundant option. It's like a backstop behind a backstop. Maybe you feel a little better if there's a second backstop, but you really don't need that second backstop. You've already got a backstop right there. Christians will say, like C.S. Lewis says in Mere Christianity, God is what defines morality. God is that which created the standard that we appeal to when we say that something is right or wrong, or something is good or bad. But I have never spoken to a Christian who was comfortable saying something is good because God says it's good, or bad because God says it's bad, and leaving it at that. I mean, they're willing to say that. If I pin them down and say, so you're saying that killing is wrong because God says it's wrong, they will probably agree. They'll say, oh, of course, we know that killing is wrong because God says killing is wrong. Or we know that theft is wrong because God says that theft is wrong. Or name your sin. But I've never met a Christian who was comfortable just staying there. I'm sure there are a few, and maybe some of you have encountered them on the internet or in person, people who just, God says that it's wrong, it's in the Bible, that's all I need. Most people will say, well, they'll pay lip service to their religion, and they'll say, yes, it's wrong. God said that it's wrong to murder people. But they also know in themselves, emotionally, rationally, instinctually, innately, that killing is wrong. And if you ask them, they can give you usually some pretty good reasons why murder, for instance, is wrong, really, really wrong. Why, when you kill another person without any just cause, you're not just breaking a rule that God set up. You're doing something that is actually wrong. You are truly committing a wrong. And if that's true, if you have a reason for saying that killing is wrong, apart from, well, because God said so, then you don't need because God said so. It's irrelevant, whether it's there or not, whether you believe that God said it or you believe, as I do, that there ain't no God and he never said shit and it doesn't matter. You have a reason. You can explain whether you believe in God or not, why killing is wrong. And some Christians will say, well, but it's God that gave us our innate moral sense. Well, that's fine if you want to believe that. I see no reason to believe that, but if you believe in God and you believe that God is what gave you your conscience, your moral sense is not simply a set of rules. Your moral sense, your conscience, is your awareness of morality, is your awareness that actions have moral values, and your conscience is what allows you to ask moral questions and grapple with them and attempt to answer them. And it's not just something you appeal to. It's something that you use to figure things out. So let's not speak about the conscience, about our innate moral sense, as though it's like the Ten Commandments tattooed on our brain. That's not what it is. And when religious folks try to talk about it like that, They're not describing reality. Even if you believe that your conscience is a gift to you from God, let's at least admit what the conscience, what your moral sense actually is. It's not a set of instructions. It's a tool. It's an instinct. It's a way of thinking. It's a level of awareness that allows us to figure things out in moral terms. And if you've got that, if you've got that level of awareness, if you've got that tool that you can use to figure things out in moral terms and to ask and answer these moral questions, you don't need the rules. You don't need the standard. You don't need to even argue, unless you want to because you feel like you're supposed to or because it makes you feel better. It's like a safety blanket. But you don't need the standard. You don't need to say, well, murder is wrong because God has forbidden it. That doesn't make it wrong. That makes it against the rules. And you can do special pleading. You can say, well, but if God says it's against the rules, then it's wrong because that's what wrong means, against God's rules. But you have no real case to make for that. You have no evidence for that. You have no way of demonstrating A, that your God exists, B, that his morality, his opinion about what is right and wrong is somehow binding across the universe. You can't even get there from here. So all you're doing is appealing to a standard that you don't need. It's that extra backstop. And they're not always good reasons. I'm not saying that they're all cut and dry issues. Not all moral questions are as easy to answer as, well, is it wrong to murder somebody? You might be a person who believes that it's wrong for gay people to have sex with each other. You might think it's terrible for a man and another man to have sex. They usually go straight to the Bible. They usually start with the, Leviticus or Romans, and God says it's an abomination. Very rarely do they stop there, however. They usually have a nice list of reasons why homosexuality is wrong, because it doesn't lead to procreation, or because it's an act of selfishness, or because it leads to a sexually permissive society, or because gay people spread disease, or whatever. These are all horrible and untrue reasons, but they are reasons nonetheless that are separate from because God said so. So even the homophobic, bigoted Christian fundamentalist assholes don't need to appeal to their God to argue that homosexuality is wrong. You see what I'm saying? It's completely unnecessary. You don't need it. You don't need it. And that was something I realized as I was thinking about it just over the last few days about the moral argument. You don't need God. Even if you believe in God, you don't need God to tell you what is right and wrong. He is absolutely unnecessary. Now the cat is crawling away now. She's had enough. She's had enough of the moral argument. So that's it.